Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. Welcome back to F1 with Mike, and this is your review of the Japanese Grand Prix. Now without further ado, I'm sure you'll be seeing this video pretty late, so I will just go straight into it. And before we get into the Grand Prix itself, I think we should do a build up from what happened through the weekend up until the Grand Prix. And starting off from free practice one, I think the most important thing this weekend was for people to see how Yuki Tsunoda will be coping in the Red Bull. And I think overall during the free practice sessions, he was just within a tenth of Verstappen, so I think which was good. I think for everyone watching was just to see, okay, is that car really undrivable? Is it as bad as Lawson make it seems, or Perez as well, because they couldn't deal with how sharp that car was. And Yuki actually did an amazing job, to be honest. I think throughout, especially during FP1, because FP2 was very short session. I think we had like 4 red flag sessions in FP2, but in FP1, Yuki was within a tenth of Verstappen. I think a lot of people were even thinking, even on the F1 broadcast, they were saying maybe he was running a higher engine mode compared to Verstappen, but apparently not. They were running the same engine mode as confirmed by Christian Horner when he was interviewed after FP1. So good start for Yuki in that session, but although the cars that were dominating that session was the Mercedes. Russell was amazing in FP1, although I think he finished he was P2 at the end of the free practice one. Lando was P1, of course. The McLaren's dominating as usual, as I said, coming into this weekend. The McLaren is the car to beat. It's absolutely the car to beat, and if you cannot beat the McLaren, you got a big work. So, like, for you to win anything or be on pole, you have to put in your absolute best, which is what Max Verstappen did this weekend. I'll get to Max Verstappen very soon. In FP2, FP2 began with Jack Doohan crash, his first session in the car, because he was not in the car for FP1. I think you have to put Alpine decided to take one of their young drivers in for FP1. I think is Ryo Hirakawa is a Japanese driver, and he was in the Alpine, and surprisingly he did a better job compared to Gasly in FP1. So, and also breaking news this morning, Hirakawa has just signed for Haas to be its reserve driver. I don't know how quickly things happen in Formula 1, but that was very quick. From that session that he put in, finishing higher than Gasly in FP1, listen, I'll give it to him. He deserved it. He's ended. So yeah, he's a reserve driver for Haas now. Going into FP2, Doohan's first session, I think on his second push lap, he went into turn 1 and he did not close his DRS. I think he said it's something he learned on the sim, and I'm not sure if this is real, but it's something he practiced in the sim and it worked. But then in real life, physics gave him a reality check, so he didn't close his DRS going into turn 1, which made the car spin and he lost control and into the wall, and that was the first red flag of the session. The remaining red flags were, I think, Alonso spun, I think, going into turn 11. I'm not sure what turn I don't remember the turn that he spun into, and he lost the car, but caused the second red flag. And then all the other red flags were because of fires. So yes, when the cars are moving on the track, they spark sometimes on the circuit. So, and because there were a lot of dry grass by the side of the track, they caught fire. Those little sparks made the grass catch fire, and yeah, so there were a lot of interruptions because of grass on fire and all of that. But then I am surprised that especially after it happened in FP1, it happened 4 times in FP2. I was surprised they didn't do anything about it. But I think in FP3 it was a little less, because I think they sprayed water around the track, like around the grass around the tracks, to help with the issue. But I don't think it really did. But I think there was one more red flag because of fire on the grass again in FP3. But aside that, I think it just happened once in FP3. Once at the beginning and once at the end. So we had, I think, a good 40-45 minutes where there was clean running in FP3, and still I think that was when the Red Bull started getting closer to the McLaren and the Mercedes, and even the Ferrari. I think at that point you could see, okay, maybe the grid is finally taking shape. But then we never knew anything until we got to qualifying. So in qualifying, I'm gonna run through, just pick specific highlights. I think the big one for me, Lance Stroll P20. So far this season, Lance has had a decent qualifying, being the best performing Aston Martin car, but he made a mistake at the end of Q1, ran into the grass, lost control of the car, so he started P20. And also, Yuki got the car. I said Yuki would get into Q3, but he didn't. Actually, I'll get to my predictions at the end of the video. But he made it to Q2. Yuki got to Q2, but then got a red flag. I think, what caused the red flag? I think it was a fire, right? Yes, it was a fire. A fire. That was what caused the red flag again. After the first running in FP1, there was fire on the grass, as I said. They should have fixed this thing. It caused a lot of interruptions during the entire session, to be honest. And so coming out to put on like the second run for Yuki, I think Yuki didn't do a good tire prep, and also given after the race he was interviewed and they said he had a higher wing level compared to Max as well. He should have gone for a slimmer wing, so that didn't help him. And also going into turn one was very difficult for a lot of drivers this weekend. He did make a mistake because he took more speed into turn one than he did. I think 16 kilometers an hour more. But this is what pressure does to you. You know, you have one lap to deliver and you make mistakes like that. So he took much more speed into turn one, which compromises exit for turn two. And when you start losing time like this and you want to push more, it's gonna be hard. The only thing you can do at this point is do your best to end the lap well, so that maybe someone behind you makes a mistake. You can only hope for that. But it didn't happen for Yuki. Yuki qualified P15, and Lawson out qualified Yuki Tsunoda. You see, this is the thing about Formula One now. Throughout up until I think from 4 races from the end of last season up until before the Japanese Grand Prix, Yuki out-qualified Lawson the entire time. Now, Yuki is in the Red Bull, and Lawson is in the V-Cap, and Lawson out-qualifies Yuki. But then, even Lawson is still getting a grips with the V-Cap, because I'm still calling it V-Cap. It's the Racing Bulls. I learned that it's no longer V-Cap. It's the Racing Bulls. So, he's still getting used to that car, which I'll give him the pass for this week, because Isaac Hadjar was putting the distance between him and Lawson. Lawson is meant to be a very good driver compared to given what we saw last season in the race stream. He is very good. But anyway, not gonna pile so much on Lawson. He out qualified Yuki. He did his own part, and also Carlos Sainz qualified P12, although he was given a 3-place grid drop, which dropped him to P15. He impeded Lewis Hamilton on a fast lap when Lewis was about to. I think that was in Q1. I think it was in Q1. He impeded Lewis Hamilton on a fast lap, so that's a slam dunk penalty, 3-place grid drop. So that pushed Lawson to 13th and pushed Yuki to P14. And in Q3, now, if you miss Q3, you have missed one of the best laps ever in Formula One history. Max Verstappen, oh my days. I'm going to say something, right? If your favorite driver in Formula One right now is not Max Verstappen, I am sorry, because Max Verstappen is better than your favorite driver. Max Verstappen is the best driver in Formula One. I mean, of course, we already know this for a while, but what he did at Suzuka, that pole lap, oh my goodness. His teammate was out in Q2, don't forget. It's one thing for his teammate to be out in Q2. We know Max will always get to Q3, but to put that car on pole, oh, no. Even Ed Straw of the race said that is a pole lap of the gods. Like, there is no way that car should be on pole. But Max Verstappen pulled it out of the bag, and he set the lap record at Suzuka. I think it's a 1:28.963 or 983, but he was 100th of a second faster than Lando Norris for pole. Lando finished P2, qualified P2. P3 was Oscar Piastri, he was just 400th of a second off the pole time as well. And in P4 was Leclerc. Leclerc actually had a decent weekend, to be honest. Well, I was expecting George to have a higher position, but George made a mistake, I think, in his tire prep for the lap. I was very surprised because I expected, honestly, the Mercedes, I felt like they had better performance throughout the weekend. It's just Max Verstappen pulling out of the pack. Leclerc did an amazing job. It's just because that the Ferrari is just all over the place. That's all you can say. And yeah, it just happened. There's no way to explain that. And also P5 was as I mentioned, was George Russell. P6 Antonelli. Antonelli has been doing a stellar job so far, keeping very close to George Russell. I think he must be commended for it. And also even in the drivers' championship, he's still P5. He's holding himself well, and that's what I mean. Honestly, Mercedes right now, because Hamilton is not there, they don't get any PR. Like, nobody looks at Mercedes, oh, they're not doing well, they're not doing this. Nah, nobody disturbs George Russell anymore. George just qualifies and has a boring race every time. No, he's not fighting with nobody to get to gain position. Nobody's trying to overtake him. He's just there in his race. And given the kind of race we had in Japan, oh my God, that's the first boring race of the year, to be honest. I think we've had decent races so far this year. Australia with jeopardy with the rain, even China, there was still a bit of overtaking here and there, but I'm sorry, Japan was boring. But before we get into let me finish with the qualifying. And in P6, Antonelli, P7, Isaac Hadjar. Now, big ups to Isaac Hadjar, because throughout the weekend he had been complaining about there was an issue with his seat. He was complaining the entire time, and even in Q1 he was complaining. He said, listen, if I don't make it into Q2, I am sorry, because of this issue. I think the seat was loose for some reason. He was just struggling in the car, because the thing about the Formula 1 car is there's so much G-forces, it throws you around as you're in the car. So that was affecting him, but they were able to fix the issue after Q1, and he got out of Q2, and in Q3 qualified P7. He out-qualified Lewis Hamilton. And if you know one thing about Isaac Hadjar, he is a big fan of Lewis. So for him to out-qualify Lewis Hamilton, honestly, big ups to him. I mean, and also being a rookie, making it to that position in a V-Carb in front of Lewis, come on. Imagine what he would do if he had a faster car. And he just qualified behind the Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli. And Lewis P8, Lewis still struggling in that Ferrari, man. I don't know. We need to start asking questions about Lewis right now. But he's not one that you should write off. In P9 was Alexander Albon, continuing his streak of Q3 appearances this season, 3 times in a row now, which is good for Alex. Is good for his confidence, because now he's wiping the floor with Carlos Sainz, to be honest. Carlos needs to wake up. Carlos really needs to wake up. And in P10 was Oliver Biermann. Now, for Oliver Biermann, it was a big surprise, because Haas came into this race with a new floor. Came into the weekend with a new floor, because they had an issue in Australia where I think the floor they had was not allowing them time on the straights. So they brought in a new floor, and surprise, Oli Biermann out-qualifying Esteban Ocon, because Ocon was knocked out in Q1. But Biermann made it to Q3, qualifying P10. Big ups to him, honestly. It was an amazing performance from Oli. If Oli can continue like this, I can see in the future with him replacing Lewis Hamilton, to be honest. If he can continue like this, I can see Biermann replacing Hamilton in the future. When Hamilton is leaving Ferrari, they will be without doubt because he's part of the Ferrari Academy as well, Ferrari Drivers Program. You can just promote him because by that time he will have so much experience in Formula 1. So it just makes sense. So now let's get into the race itself. Now, one thing about the race, I'm going to stay safe from here. The race was boring. If you don't believe me, I think I'll add the clip in where they were interviewing the drivers after the race.
It was a very boring race for me.
Yeah, not the most exciting race. Suzuka, that has become a bit of a new Monaco. Pretty lonely race. I didn't have anyone really around me.
I think it was a boring race because my radio was clearly a hot topic. But for the most part, it was quite a boring race. It was a pretty lonely race out there.
It was boring. This is the most boring race so far this season. And I can't remember the last time I watched a race where the top 10 drivers remained unchanged. I think this race, the drivers that started from P1 to P10 remained there. The only change was Lewis Hamilton overtaking Isaac Hadjar from P8 to P7. But the entire grid from P1 to P10 remained the same. It was like, what's going on? And people will say things like, oh, maybe Formula One is outgrowing like this classic tracks. But I don't think that's the case. I think for me, you have to consider a few factors why the race was boring. First of all, before we even get to why the race was boring, we've had previous races on this track that were very interesting, that had a lot of overtaking. So what's the problem this year? It's not like the cars got bigger or anything, you know? So for me, I feel the reason why the race was boring is, one, it was a resurfaced track. And given the choice of tires by Pirelli, that means there was less degradation. If you notice, one thing about the race yesterday was that it was full send from all the drivers. Like from the beginning to the end, it was like a sprint race, full send, and the tires were not going anywhere. The tires were lasting. So maybe next time when we have a race on a tarmac that has on a track that has been resurfaced, maybe give tires that are maybe not as durable, give lesser compounds that can wear off easily, so it can bring on some jeopardy, some strategy into play. And also, I felt there was just one DRS point on the track. I'm like, what? It was the start finish straight. Why? I mean, they could have had like 3 DRS points in this race if they wanted. That could have induced more overtaking, but then nobody wants overtaking to be artificially induced, in this context. But there's that as well. I mean, you could honestly, I just didn't get, because I remember last year there was so much fun in this race, and also another thing could be that we've gotten to the peak performance of this generation of cars, that they are so close to each other that when you put them in a situation where they have to go flat out from the beginning till the end, this is what happens. On a resurfaced track, with harder compounds of tires, the cars have reached their peak evolution for this rules reg. There's no overtaking because they are so close together. Even in qualifying, you can see the distance. The 1/10 will make a huge difference in qualifying. At least we've been seeing it over the last few races, even going back into last season. The gap is not much. So when you now give a situation where everybody's going full send from the beginning till the end, there's hardly going to be any overtaking. I think the only guys that overtook, maybe Yuki. I know Yuki overtook Lawson at the beginning of the race. Sainz had a few overtakes at the end of the race, but he went so long and then put on the soft tires till the end, him and Lawson. But even Lawson started 14th, started 13th and finished 17th, I think. So you could see the race was really boring. I think the most exciting part of the entire race was when when I was about to say Lewis, when Lando and Max pitted. So Max pitted first because Max was leading the race, P1, and Lando P2. Pitted the same time, going out of the pit lane, I think there was this thing. Max was in front for sure, but Lando was very close by, and Lando was always like, Max pushed me off. I think he wanted to press the accelerator quickly so he could get ahead of Max Verstappen out of the pit lane, but then Max was not having it. Max maintained his line, and Lando went on the grass, and he was saying Max pushed him off, and that was the most interesting part of the entire race, to be honest. Aside that, it was Alex Albon's rant on on the radio. For that to be the highlight of this entire race, that tells you so much about what has happened during the Japanese Grand Prix. Honestly, it was so boring, very boring. Although towards the end, it was now the battle for the win of the race, because, as you know, the McLaren had a faster car compared to the Verstappen. The McLaren had a faster car compared to the Red Bull. Now, the two McLarens had been chasing Verstappen for a long time. Honestly, I don't know how Verstappen kept these guys at bay for that long. I think at the beginning on the mediums, you could see the most gap he had, I think it was like a 2.1 second gap to him and Lando. But Lando always kept closing it back. And even at the time they pitted, I think the gap was like maybe 1.4. And Max maintained that gap till the end. I think there was a time he got close to 1.1. Then Max Verstappen takes it back with 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. But the thing is also, I feel like I really felt like McLaren threw this one. Yes, Max Verstappen had an amazing drive, don't get me wrong, but I think McLaren threw this one because they could have done a different strategy because they have two drivers right behind Max Verstappen. Do the overcuts. Do one driver does the undercut, one driver does the overcut. And Lando, being the one that was in P2, should have done the overcut, and Piastri will have done the undercut. And at that point, look at Antonelli. Antonelli went very long in the race. I think that was what made him lead the race. I think now he's the youngest driver to ever lead a race in Formula One history. So kudos to him. And he also had the fastest lap of the race. Not that he doesn't get any extra point because there's no more points for the fastest lap. So he went long and he came back like towards the end of the race. He put on the hard tires. Lewis Hamilton couldn't catch him. Man, Lewis had a dismal race. I'm not even going to get into that now. And he finished 1 second behind George Russell. Like he was almost close. He was very close to overtaking Russell. So Lando in the McLaren could have done that. And maybe he would have had a chance to overtake Max Verstappen, but he didn't do that. The McLaren didn't do that. So unfortunately, and also, lest I forget, Piastri was even faster at a certain point than Lando. But the team were not giving the team orders for them to like maybe switch positions and maybe have Piastri let him have a go at Verstappen. Maybe he can overtake. If he could have done that, then let him take P1. But if he couldn't, maybe switch the position before the end of the race, and that could have been it. But you know, the thing about team orders right now, it's gonna get. I say it's gonna get really dicey between Piastri and Lando at some point in this season. I don't know when it's gonna be, but I'm hoping soon because I do like some jeopardy. Honestly, I think like they're trying to be civil, as you can see, but someday it's gonna kick off. One day they're gonna run into each other, even if it's by mistake. But right now they're having the constructors on lock for sure. But at the end of this race, Max Verstappen won. Honestly, an amazing drive in Honda's home, Japan, at Suzuka circuit. Like this is the final year of Red Bull and Honda partnership. I think even they had a celebration for that, which is amazing. And delivery, the beautiful car winning in Japan. Honda backed car winning the race. It was just perfect for Red Bull, for Japan, for Honda, even for Yuki. Even Yuki in the celebration. Honestly, I can't wait to see what Yuki will do from next week because this is a triple header. I can't wait to see what Yuki does. Also, now, I think, given all I have said, I doubt I'm missing anything so far from this weekend. So I will just go into my predictions, like what I predicted. I think for pole, I said Lando will be on pole. Honestly, he almost got it. But the inevitable Max Verstappen, he did the unthinkable, to be honest. Even GP was so surprised on the radio, was like, wow, that is unbelievable. That was literally what it was. You could even tell from the emotions of Max Verstappen after he got that lap, after he got that pole lap. The emotions from Verstappen said it all. Like, that was one hell of a lap. I think even if you give Max Verstappen that car to do it again, I don't think he will be able to match that time. It was just something. He himself said he almost crashed 5 times because of how hard he was pushing on that lap. But amazing for Max to get the pole. And for the race, my race predictions were Lando P1, Max P2, Oscar Piastri. But the genius of Max Verstappen continued. Max won the race, Lando was P2, and Oscar Piastri was P3. I did say Alex Albon will be a flop. No, Alex Albon was not the flop. Alex Albon continues to impress, even though his radio was like something else. Alex was just going on his race engineer. My God, I don't know who vexed Alex before the race, but Alex, take a chill pill, man. Like, your radio these days have started to become the things to look out for. Normally, we're waiting to listen to Max Verstappen's radio or Yuki Tsunoda's radio or something. But right now, it's Alex. It's Alex. So Alex, chill a bit, my guy. And my crazy prediction was that Yuki will make it into Q3. Yuki did not make it into Q3, unfortunately. Maybe he'll make it into Q3 in Bahrain this weekend. So also keep an eye. I'm gonna put out my predictions video for the Bahrain Grand Prix by Wednesday. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. If you've made it up to this if you made it up to this time, because I'm not gonna edit this video. I'm just gonna probably add a few pictures to show you what I was talking about during the race, but that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you've gotten to this point, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Help me get to 10K subscribers before the end of the year. I really appreciate the time and support. Thank you for the love, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.